So for lesson 5, we're learning about negative exponents, and we have the algebraic rule of x to the negative 1 being just the reciprocal of x. So you can see x to the negative 1 is the reciprocal, so when you have a negative power, it goes in the denominator of the fraction with 1 over it. And so we have x to the negative b. We're going to take that and put a 1 in the numerator, and we make the b positive and put it in the denominator. So for exercise 1, they're asking us to look at the general statement of x to the negative b, and x is 3 and b is negative 5. So let's fill that in. So we're actually going to look at x to the negative b is equal to 1 over x to the b, for x being 3 and b being positive 5. Note the change to positive 5 there. And so we have x being the 3. So that's 3 to the negative 5 power is equal to 1 over 3 to the 5th. And so that's what I want you to look at, is that when we have that negative exponent, we put a denominator of 1, and then the exponent becomes positive, and we put it in the denominator. And those values are equal. So for exercise 2, we're looking at what is the value of 3 times 10 to the negative 2. So the first part we're going to look at is that 10 to the negative 2. So 10 to the negative 2 power is really going to be the same thing as 1 over 10 to the positive 2, or 10 squared. And that is equal to 1 over 100. And so what we really have is 3 times 1 over 100, which is 3/100ths, which is 0.03. And we're doing the same kind of exercise in exercise 3. We have 3 times 10 to the negative 5, so we want to look at looking at 10 to the negative 5 is going to be equal to 1 over 10 to the positive 5. And we have to think about what 10 to the positive 5 is. So we end up thinking about 10 times itself, or as a factor 10 times. That's a 1 with 5 zeros after it. So we have the value of 1 over 1 with 5 zeros. So that's 1/100,000. And so we're multiplying that by 3. 3 over 1 times 1 over 100,000. And so you've got that as the fraction 3 over 100,000. And you could write that as a decimal. And that would be 4 places, and then the 3 in the 100,000ths place. For exercise 4, we're looking at writing the expanded form. So that's like multiplying by 10 to a power. So we have to look at the place value. Now the first digit 4 is in the ones place. So we want to think about what power of 10 would be equal to 1. Now you should know that anything to the 0 power is equal to 1. So that first part is just the number 4 times 10 to the 0 power, because that gives us 4 times 1, which is the place value of 4. And then we want to add to that 7, and then we want to say times 10, but this time we want it to be tenths. So we're looking at it being in a fractional form, and so that's really dividing, and we would say to the negative 1 power, plus 2 times 10 to the negative 2, plus 8 times 10 to the negative 3. So where this comes from is this is like 4 times 1, which of course just gives you that 4. This is 7 times 1 over 10, which of course gives you 7/10, which is that 0.7. This is 2 times 1 over 10 squared, which is 100, and so that gives you 2 in the hundredths place. And then this is 8 times 1 over 10 to the third, which puts it in the thousandths place. And when we put that all together, we get that decimal that we were given in exercise 4. Now in exercise 5, we're just looking at putting this into exponential notation. We have that negative 3 exponent, so we're really going to just take this and make the base the same, but in the denominator with a numerator of 1, and then we change that negative 3 into a positive 3 when we're putting it in the denominator. Now the reverse is true as well, that if we have that positive exponent in the denominator, we can rewrite with a negative exponent. So this would be the same as 8 to the negative 9 when we're not writing it in a fraction form. For exercise 7, we're looking at 3 times 2 to the negative 4. Now watch that your exponent is only with the 2. So that is really the 3 in the numerator, and then we put the base of 2 in the denominator with a positive exponent of 4. And for exponential notation, we can just leave it like that. And then for exercise 8, we want to rewrite this when we have that negative exponent and we're looking to write it with a positive. We put the numerator as 1. The base stays the same, but the exponent in the denominator becomes positive. For exercise 9, we're writing this from the fraction form to writing it with an exponent. And so we end up with x, and to take it out of the denominator, we're going to take that and put it up here, but we make it negative, so we know that it's really in the denominator when it's in fraction form. For exercise 10, the x would stay in the numerator because the negative exponent is only with the y, and the y goes in the denominator, and then we bring that 4 down, but it's positive when it's in the denominator.